They called her the daughter of the devil. Her name? Gudrun Himmler, the daughter of Heinrich Himmler, the head of the SS, one of the most feared men in Nazi Germany, and one of the chief architects of the Holocaust. But what happens when history's most hated men leave behind children? Today, we're going to step into the world of Gudrun Himmler. A little girl who once sat on her father's knee as he wrote her sweet letters. The same father who signed the death orders of millions. A teenager who witnessed Nazi rallies from the front row while her father organized the final solution behind the scenes. A woman who, long after the war ended, defended her father until her dying breath.
My father has done nothing wrong. He was a great man.
This is the story of the daughter of the devil. Chapter 1. Childhood in the Shadow of Power. Gudrun Himmler was born on August 8, 1929, in Munich, Germany. Her father at this time was not yet the feared Reichsfuhrer SS. Heinrich Himmler was a rising figure in Adolf Hitler's movement, the NSDAP, a man obsessed with loyalty, discipline, and a twisted vision of racial purity. Her mother, Marguerite Boden, was a nurse who had married Himmler in 1928. Together, they represented the perfect image of the Nazi family. From the start, Gudrun's life was shaped by her father's ideology. Her childhood was filled with Nazi symbols, uniforms, and talk of loyalty to the Führer. Himmler adored his daughter. He called her Puppy, a pet name. In his letters, he described how much he missed her when he was away. He often wrote from the front or from his offices, filling pages with affection and advice. In one of his letters to Gudrun, Himmler wrote, "In life one must always be decent, courageous, and kind-hearted." To Gudrun, he was a warm, loving, almost doting father. She never saw the man others knew, the ruthless commander of the SS. This contradiction is crucial to understand. In her eyes, Himmler wasn't the man who ordered mass shootings, deportations, and extermination. He was Papa, and that image of her father would remain unshaken for the rest of her life. Chapter 2. The World of the SS. By the mid-1930s, Heinrich Himmler had risen to become one of the most powerful men in Nazi Germany. As head of the SS, he was no longer just an enforcer. He was building a state within a state. The SS controlled police, intelligence, and later, the concentration camp system. Camps where Jews and other minorities were put to work and eventually systematically exterminated in a way so cruel it is unimaginable. For Himmler, this was not just politics. It was about creating an elite racial order. And Gudrun, as his daughter, was part of that world. The Himmler family lived on an estate near Dachau, the very first concentration camp. For Gudrun, it was home. She grew up surrounded by SS officers, uniforms, and ceremonies. Her father made sure she was present at Nazi events. She met Hitler and other top officials. To the outside world, she was the smiling, innocent daughter of one of the Reich's most powerful men. But in reality, she was being raised within the heart of a system built on terror. In 1941, when Gudrun was just 12 years old, her father took her on an official visit to Dachau concentration camp. She later described it in her diary as a beautiful day. She remembered prisoners working in the fields and singing. But what she didn't see, or didn't want to see, was the starvation, the forced labor, the brutality, and the killings that made Dachau infamous. This gap between reality and perception shaped her worldview. Her father shielded her from the horrors he created, leaving her with only admiration. Chapter 3. The Collapse of the Reich. By 1945, the world Himmler had built was crumbling. Allied forces were advancing. The Reich was burning. Gudrun, now 15 years old, saw her life turned upside down. She and her mother tried to escape, fleeing south as Germany collapsed. Meanwhile, her father attempted to negotiate peace with the Allies. But when he was captured by British troops in May 1945, his life ended with a cyanide capsule hidden in his mouth. Heinrich Himmler killed himself to avoid trial. For Gudrun, this was devastating. The man she adored was suddenly gone, and in her mind, he hadn't died as a war criminal. He had died as a victim. That belief that her father was innocent, misunderstood, or unfairly treated would shape her future. Keep in mind, no matter where she came from and who her father was, this was just a young girl experiencing her youth during the Second World War. Chapter 4. A Prisoner of History. After the war, Gudrun and her mother were captured by American forces. They were interrogated and detained in various internment camps. Gudrun, just a teenager, was treated as part of the Nazi elite's family. She was questioned repeatedly about her father, about what she knew, and about the world of the SS. She never admitted to anything. She insisted that her father was a good man. By 1948, she was released. But the world outside was very different. Germany was divided. The Nazi leaders were dead, in prison, or in hiding. And for someone like Gudrun, being Himmler's daughter was not a privilege anymore. It was a curse. She tried to live quietly. She worked as a seamstress, then as a secretary. But she never abandoned her loyalty to her father. Chapter 5. Silent Help. In the years after the war, networks formed to help ex-Nazis escape prosecution or survive in post-war society. One of the most infamous was Stille Hilfe, Silent Help. Gudrun became one of its key figures. Silent Help raised money, provided legal defense, and offered secret aid to Nazi war criminals. They helped men like Klaus Barbie, the butcher of Lyon, who fled to South America. They supported SS officers facing trial. They lobbied for leniency for men convicted of mass murder. For Gudrun, this was a mission. She saw it as protecting her father's comrades, men who she believed were wrongly persecuted. She became a central figure in keeping the Nazi network alive in post-war Europe. She never married, never had children. Her life was dedicated to this cause. Chapter 6. A Woman in Denial. What makes Gudrun Himmler's story so haunting is her unwavering denial. Even when confronted with overwhelming evidence of her father's role in the Holocaust, she refused to believe it. She once said, "He was the best father in the world. He was kind and good." This wasn't just a daughter's love. It was willful blindness. She could not, or would not, accept that the man she loved was one of history's greatest criminals. This refusal became her identity. While other children of Nazi leaders, like Nicholas Frank, openly condemned their fathers,
"My father could have seen this, and he knew exactly what he was doing, the most horrible crimes."
So do you think he was really brainwashed by
No, he wasn't brainwashed. He knew exactly.
But not Gudrun. Gudrun became the opposite. She embraced her father's memory. She carried it like a badge of honor. Chapter 7. Old Age and Legacy. Gudrun lived in Munich until her death in 2018 at the age of 88. Her story forces us to ask, how do you deal with being the child of a monster? Do you reject them? Or do you cling to the only version of them you knew? Gudrun chose the latter. And for that, she will forever be remembered not just as Heinrich Himmler's daughter, but as the daughter of the devil. And for Adolf Hitler, if you are curious if he really died in the Führer bunker, since the skull that was proof of his death for so long turned out to belong to a female, Click the video on screen right now to find out.
US scientists claim that the only remnant of the dictator, a part of his skull kept in Russia, actually belonged to a woman.